Good morning, everyone. It is, what is today, May 9th, 9 a.m. This is our commission meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask Sheriff Sperling if he would lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to item number 3, roll call.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Kevin Schutte.
Here.
Commissioner District 3, Sharon Trask.
I'm here. Moving right along, we'll move on to item number 4, correspondence and organizational business. We'll start with item 4.1, correspondence. Do we have any?
Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board sent in the following: general liquor and cannabis license application information and notice of cannabis license application received from Gold Baby LLC and Two Buds LLC. Elizabeth Arbaugh sent in an advisory board application for the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. Jane Wall, Executive Director of the County Road Administration Board, sent in a certificate of good practice for Mason County. Congressman Derek Kilmer sent in a letter regarding State Route 3 Gorst Area Resiliency Project. And public comment was received opposing logging Sherwood Forest from Liz Ellis, Sue Klemp, Ariana Garofalo, Eileen Preffermont, Carla Oman, Ann Peterson, Craig Moran, Sherry Dysart, Michael Siptroff, Alice Flegel, and Claudia Martin.
Great, thank you. All right, let's move on to item 4.2. I would like to have Loretta come up and read this for us, if you would.
4.2, what am I reading?
County Road Administration Board Certificate.
The board certificate of good practice.
Oh.
Do you have that one?
I've got no script.
Okay, you know
Do
what?
you want me to go off script?
Well, I don't know about that one. That one's kind of scary.
I can read that. All right, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So a certificate of good practice has been transferred or transmitted to the state treasurer on behalf of Mason County for the year last year, 2022, pursuant to the authority contained in RCW 36.78.090, and in recognition of the fact that this county has submitted to the Department of Transportation or to this board all reports required by law or regulation of the board, and B, has reasonably complied with provisions of law relating to county road administration and with the standards of good practice as formulated and adopted by the board by resolution of the County Road Administration Board, April 13th, 2023. And this is a huge acknowledgement of the work of our fearless leader, who's looking out the door there and hiding, Mike Collins, our county engineer. And Mike and his team go through all kinds of accounting and tracking and monitoring and reporting throughout the year. How many reports do we submit, Mike? At least 10? Yeah. Yes, to make sure that we are staying in compliance and meeting audits and being good stewards of the public's funds. And so that's a big team effort. Our finance team's part of that, our admin team, obviously our engineering and survey folks, and Mike's leading the charge all the way. And could not say more and be more grateful or proud of the team's work. Good job, Mike.
Well done, well done. Commissioner, you want to say anything on that one?
Yeah, I just really appreciate Mike, you and the whole road crew and all the work that you do. We're going into the busier season. I don't think there's ever a slow period for our road crew, whether it's snow removal or keeping up after other weather events throughout the year. But you guys just do a top-notch job, and that's reflected in the certificate of good practice. It's kind of undersells the whole thing when they just say it's a certificate of good practice. But I certainly think that you provide exceptional service to the citizens of Mason County, so thank you.
And I'll just add, people don't realize that you've stretched our crews and the things that they've done over the years exponentially to where they're doing more and more things. And whenever you have a change like that, it usually creates an apple cart to be upset. But you were able to do all these things and get them to expand on their abilities and their jobs without upending that apple cart. That's obvious through this. So thank you for all your hard work. Very much appreciated.
Yeah, wow. I mean, what an accomplishment. I appreciate you, everyone out there that's, the team members at Public Works. I think we have an amazing team. So, thank you.
Yeah, this morning on the way into work, passed 3 trucks and pups. We're gathering asphalt for paving.
Front Street.
And helping out the city of Shelton this morning, so.
Yeah,
yeah,
very
awesome.
cool. I saw them on my way to work, so they're out there early, that's for sure. All right, we're going to move on down to item 4.3 and ask Mark if you would read that.
This is a proclamation for National Child Care Provider Appreciation Day, May 12th, 2023. Whereas cities, counties, and organizations nationwide are recognizing child care providers on this day, and whereas child care provides a safe, nurturing place for the enrichment and development of millions of children nationwide, and is a vital force in our economy. And whereas over half of the children under age 6 nationwide are estimated to spend some time in non-parental care arrangement on a weekly basis, which provides critical enrichment opportunities and nurtures development for children of all backgrounds and is a vital building block of our state economy. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic illuminated how indispensable child care providers are for the well-being and economic security of Mason County's youngest children, families, and communities. Whereas child care providers continue to provide essential, high-quality early learning experience to Washington's children in the face of irregular and long hours, high turnover rate in child care businesses, and increasing stressful working conditions due to the impact of burnout, COVID-19, and other workforce-related complications. And whereas our future depends on the quality of the early childhood experience provided to young children today, support for high-quality child care represents a worthy commitment to our children's future. And therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Mason County Commissioners declares May 12th, 2023 as National Child Care Provider Appreciation Day in Mason County and urges all citizens to recognize and thank child care providers for their important work. Signed this day, the 9th day of May, 2023.
Thank you. And now I'd like to ask the Sheriff's Office, our sheriff, to come forward and read item 4.4, the National Peace Officers Memorial Day and National Police Week.
I've got it right here. And then you can just scroll through it right there. Let me get it up there for you. Scroll down.
Good morning. I'm going to try this without my readers.
I blew it up really big for you.
It's not bad, not bad. All right, National Peace Officers Memorial Day and National Police Week. It's always in May, and I've been participating in it for 35 years, and it's always a bit of an emotional thing. Just in the last 2 years before I actually read it, I just went to the Officer Down Memorial page, and in 2020 through 2022, we lost 1,394 officers. 1,394 officers in the line of duty. Many of those were due to COVID, getting exposed and ended up passing away. That's a lot of families that are impacted by that, for people who willingly put themselves in that position to protect others and take that on. So it's always an honor to be able to recognize them. May 15th through 21, 2023, whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation designating May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as National Police Week to recognize the professionalism, courage, and dedication of police officers for their valuable role in public safety. and safeguarding the rights and freedoms which have been guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States. And whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in the communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Mason County Sheriff's Office, Shelton Police Department, Skokomish Indian Tribe, Squaxin Indian Tribe, Washington State Patrol, Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife, Washington State Department of Corrections, and other state and federal agencies. And whereas, all right, how's it go up? How do I scroll on this one?
It should be.
There we go. Got it. Whereas it is important that residents recognize and understand the duties, hazards, problems, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agencies, and that members of our law enforcement agencies recognize and understand their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life, property, and protecting them against violence or disorder, protecting the innocent and the vulnerable against deception, and the weak against oppression and intimidation. And whereas the service and sacrifice of the officers killed in the line of duty should be honored, recognized, and remembered during this dedicated week and throughout the year. Now, therefore, the Board of Mason County Commissioners call upon the residents of Mason County to observe May 15th, 2023 as National Police Officers Memorial Day, to honor law enforcement officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community and have been disabled in the performance of their duties, and recognize and pay respect to the survivors of the fallen law enforcement officers. And be it further resolved, the Board of Mason County Commissioners call upon the residents of Mason County to observe the week of May 15th through 2023 as National Police Week, recognizing all law enforcement officers past and present who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to their community. Signed this 9th day of May 2023, the Commissioners of Mason County. Thank you.
All right. We have quite a few here, so we'll just keep moving down. Item 4.5, Mental Health Awareness Month, and ask Melissa to come forward and read.
This is a proclamation, Mental Health Awareness Month, May 2023, whereas nearly 1 in 5 adults and 1 in 5 adolescents in the United States live with a mental illness, and whereas mental health impacts a person's emotional, social, environmental, financial, and overall well-being, with significant disparities among racially and ethnically diverse communities. And whereas suicide is now the second leading cause of death for 15 to 24-year-olds, with teenagers experiencing a 17.3% increase in the use of anxiety medication since 2010. And whereas 1/3 of the United States population lives in a country designated as a mental health professional shortage area. And whereas an estimated 44% of residents detained in jails are suffering from mental illness, often with co-occurring substance use disorders. And whereas counties are well positioned to lead action on the mental health crisis because counties play an integral role in local health, justice, and human services systems. And whereas Mason County and all counties serve as a safety net for residents in need, first responders, and operator of crisis lines, public hospitals, and detention centers. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Mason County Commissioners hereby proclaims May 2023 as Mental Health Awareness Month in Mason County to highlight the critical role of the county in providing crucial behavioral health services and resources to its residents, and to commit to partner with community members to ensure that all mental health services are accessible, valuable, and culturally appropriate for all residents. Signed this day of May 9, 2023.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to move on down to item 4.6, National Correction Officers and Employees Week, and ask the sheriff again to come forward.
I'm getting set up, hold on.
Well,
Thank you.
well, Mark's taking care of us here. 35 years in law enforcement, and the most stressful 6 months I've ever had in law enforcement when I was the jail chief. The liabilities of working in the jail, running a city 24 hours a day, taking care of their laundry, their food, all of their, he's got it over here. All of their different needs. And our jailers take it very personally to assist these people to try to prevent them from coming back to the jail by helping them get involved in things through the community services that will prevent them from re-offending and coming right back, because many of them are reoffenders and they see them on a regular basis. They get to know them. The interesting thing about our jailers is they get to know a lot of the people in our community when they're no longer high and they're getting assistance, and they get to see them in a different light than the patrol officers do when we're on the street, seeing them, catching them when they're in more of a crisis type situation. And our jailers take it very personally to try to help these individuals, and what they do in there is incredible, and I can't thank them enough. It's a service that's unseen by a lot of people, and doesn't matter, holidays, what day it is, that little city is running 24 hours a day, and there's a lot of need in that city within our community, so it's an honor to do this. Proclamation, National Correction Officers and Employees Week, whereas in 1984, then President Ronald Reagan signed Proclamation 5187, calling upon the country to pay tribute to the men and women who work in jails, prisons, and community corrections. And whereas in 1966, the U.S. Senate officially changed the name of the proclamation to National Corrections Officer and Employee Week to be recognized in the first week of May. And whereas the Mason County Sheriff's Office is committed to maintain custody, security, and control of the county's jail in a safe, efficient, and constitutional manner. And whereas correctional employees are often unseen and underappreciated, dedicated professionals who choose a career as a community servant, who manage a diverse group of individuals, some of whom are violent, mentally ill, and dangerous. And whereas corrections employees are an indispensable part of law enforcement, they keep our communities safe and put themselves in harm's way to advance the mission of protecting the public, staff, and inmates, while at the same time promoting positive attitude, behavior, and skills to aid in successful reentry into our community. And therefore, be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners declares the week of May 7th through 13th, 2023 to be National Corrections Officer and Employee Week in Mason County, to honor the devoted correctional employees who, by their faithful and loyal dedication to their responsibilities, have rendered dependable service to the community, remembering these correctional professionals who have made the ultimate sacrifice, as well as those who continue to face the daily dangers and challenges of our nation's jails, prisons, and community corrections. Signed the 9th day of May, 2023. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff. All right, move on to item 4.7. And honoring Mason County's high school graduates class of 2023, and ask Commissioner Schutte to read this one.
Certainly, Madam Chair. Proclamation honoring Mason County's high school graduates class of 2023. Whereas May is high school graduation month and the perfect opportunity to address increasing education, acknowledge the adverse and difficult situations being presented to graduating seniors, and pave the way toward improving the quality of life for all young people. And whereas high school students are still facing an unprecedented year even after the COVID-19 pandemic, continued economic challenges, and devastation in Ukraine. And whereas families, friends, neighbors, and educators should encourage everyone to focus on the abilities of all young people and honor their hard work and achievement. And whereas Mason County graduating students at Cedar, Choice, James A. Taylor, Mary M. Knight, North Mason, and Shelton High Schools have contributed greatly to our community. And whereas the most effective way to increase awareness to the value of education and to honor graduating seniors is through everyone's active participation in community activities and the openness to learn and acknowledge each individual student's abilities, contributions, talents, and the importance of education. And whereas during this generational challenge, our students represent a bright future and will continue along the path of leadership and service in our community and nation. And whereas we encourage all citizens to support opportunities for graduating seniors in our community, including employment, higher education, housing, military service, recreational activities, and trades. And now, therefore, the Board of Mason County Commissioners hereby recognizes the high achievement of graduating members of the class of 2023. And on behalf of the residents of Mason County, offer our heartfelt congratulations. And be it further resolved, the Board of Mason County Commissioners does hereby proclaim the month of May 2023 as High School Senior Recognition Month. Go Black Bears, Bulldogs, Cats, High Climbers, and Owls. Signed this 25th day, signed this 9th day of May 2023.
Great, thank you. And now, item 4.8, National Public Works Week, and have Commissioner Netherland read this one.
Madam Chair, happily. National Public Works Week Proclamation, May 21st through 27th, 2023, connecting the world through public works. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are vitally important to the sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Mason County. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, services could not be provided without the dedicated effort of the public works professionals who are engineers, managers, employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our national transportation, water supply, water treatment and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential to our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Mason County to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2023 marks the 63rd Annual National Public Works Week sponsored by American Public Works Association and Canadian Public Works Association, be it now resolved, the Board of Mason County Commissioners do hereby designate the week May 21st through 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week and urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, ceremonies designated to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life, done in open session on this day, May 9th, 2023.
Thank you so much. Now, item 4.9, Drinking Water Week, and ask Public Works to come forward. Oh, how about
Interdepartmental work here.
Dave come forward?
Good morning. Drinking Water Week 2023, May 7th to 13, 2023. Whereas water is our most valuable natural resource, and whereas drinking water plays a vital role in daily life, ensuring the health, hydration, and hygiene needs for our citizens are met, and whereas tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life we all enjoy, and whereas the hard work performed by the entire water sector is to be recognized, those designing, maintaining, operating, and building the infrastructure that communities rely on to transport high-quality drinking water from its source to consumers' taps, and whereas the coronavirus pandemic has shown a light on the importance of drinking water for health, hydration, and hygiene needs, and whereas we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which all generations depend, and whereas the citizens of Mason County are called upon to protect our source waters from pollution, practice water conservation, and get involved with their water by familiarizing themselves with it. Now, therefore, the Board of Mason County Commissioners hereby designate the week of May 7 to 13, 2023 as Drinking Water Week, done in this open session on this 9th day of May 2023.
Great, thank you. And now, item 4.10, Herbicide Maintenance Program News Release.
Okay.
Maybe next year we'll do all this in different days. I've never seen so many in my
I know.
11 years. I've never seen so many of these at one time.
I know.
Matter of fact, I think this is probably 3 or 4 times the most we've
my
ever done at one time. Apologize to everybody, but
Congratulations on your staying power,
That's right.
folks.
First week of May is May proclamation.
Yeah, it is now.
Yeah, so this is our annual news release notifying the public that it is herbicide maintenance time. Mason County Public Works has begun the spring application of herbicides for vegetation control along county roads, weather permitting. For a detailed list of roads affected by the herbicide application program, please visit the County Public Works Herbicide Spray Program webpage, www.masoncounty.wa.gov, or contact the Mason County Public Works Department at 360-427-9670, extension 450. Property owners that are adjacent to areas to be sprayed that do not want the spraying to take place may enroll in our Owner Will Maintain program by contacting Public Works. Those property owners who have already enrolled in the program and designated their property as no spray will not need to re-notify us. Their property will not be sprayed. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for volunteering to read. All right. Now let's move on to item number 5, open forum for citizen input. This is the time we set aside to let public comment to the board. Each person will have 3 minutes. We do have a 15-minute limit on this, as we do, we're on a pretty tight schedule, and now we really are on a pretty tight schedule. What I would ask is that people raise their hand. I will recognize you. We're going to start in the Zoom room first. And I do know that there is one that I'm going to call on first. Mark will be our timekeeper. And we are now starting at 9:27. So if you could make sure that we do not go past our 15 minutes mark.
Yep.
All right. And first I'm going to call on Bailey. Bailey in the Zoom room, if you would.
Yeah, this is a mic check.
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly.
All right, so my name is Bailey Fuentes. I'm with the East Side Artist roster over in the city of Bellevue. I work with them to create public works of art in downtown and the East Side region. So Issaquah, Kent, Kirkland, Redmond, a few other places to name, but for the most part, we create public works of art, and what I'm here for is to respond to your request for proposal of last week for the supporting tourism. And I understand that you're looking to get people that actually do the services of the visitor information centers. But what I suggest in order to bring in tourism instead is to use that proposal to build a new renovated visitor center that attracts people into the space and brings people in from around the region. And so that's what I'm here for today is to talk to you about that.
All right, we appreciate your comments, and we do have your contact information, so we will be reaching out to you.
Sure, and I do have one last thing to tell you. There is a house across from that Hood Canal Visitor Center. It's recently been burned down, and there's been a little bit of work on it. I've talked to the owner of that piece of land, and he's willing to sell the land to Public Works if for the proposal, from what he told me, was between $45,000 to $50,000.
All right, appreciate that information.
And that's what I've got for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bailey. Let's move on to Ken. Can you state your name and where you're from?
Good morning, Commissioners. Ken Van Buskirk. I'm from Belfair. I have just a couple things. I listened to the Theller Trail and the Roselle Road briefing a couple weeks ago, and then I commented to the board the next day. The WDFW has not taken possession of the Theller property, and they haven't presented any kind of proposal to a citizen advisory committee that was established. Yet it was presented to Mason County TIPCAP, and I think it should go the proper route first. I received a call from WDFW, and I suggested that they watch my testimony to you folks and then return my call, and they haven't done that yet. I've also had several calls from community members who understood I had testified and they would like to see the trail restored to the way it was. I have a lot of history serving on the Feller Board, School Board, and I've done a lot of research on the history around Roselle Road, and also the perpetual easements regarding trail access, the former Johnson Farm, and the WDFW hunting blinds. I'd like to show each one of you and your county staff on the ground some of the things I've discovered, so feel free to give me a call anytime. Secondly, the other thing I get a lot of questions about here in Belfair is the traffic situation. And last Friday, traffic in Belfair on Highway 3 was totally gridlocked for 2 hours. And I know it's not the sole contributor to the traffic issue, but I wonder if the commission could give us an update, the community an update about the intersection at Ridgetop Boulevard and Highway 3. I think we last discussed it in January. So thank you for your time, folks.
All right, thank you, Ken. Do we have anyone else in the Zoom room? Kenzie, do you see anybody? All right, thank you. All right, let's move here into the real room. Well, I guess that's real too, but okay, go for it. Please state your name and where you're from.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Julianne Gale, and I have lived in Lilywop, Lake Cushman, and I now live in Spencer Lake. I come to you on behalf of more than 500 Mason County residents, including youth, elders, veterans, teachers, former DNR staff, and the Port of Allen Commissioners who sent you a letter that you received on May 2nd, as well as Squaxin Island tribal and community members. We all ask you, please help us create a win-win solution by doing something very simple. Just write a letter. Write a letter asking DNR to purchase alternative working forest as a replacement for canceling the Sherwood timber sale, using the money from the recently passed capital budget set aside by the state legislature for situations exactly like this. Mason County residents' concerns related to the Sherwood timber sale include lowered property values, economic unfairness for rural forested counties like ours, disregard of homeowner interests, undemocratic process at the Board of Natural Resources, increased noise pollution during and after harvest, loss of public recreation area and wildlife habitat, negative impacts on air quality, water quality, and salmon recovery, loss of traditional cultural harvest areas for Squaxin Island tribal members, increased flooding, erosion, and runoff, diminished food security, negative impacts on physical health, mental health, and safety relevant to the resolutions we heard earlier this morning, and more. The proposed solution involves no net loss of working forest and no cost to Mason County. In fact, this solution would grow the state's investment in Mason County. The process for protecting Sherwood Forest by acquiring state-funded replacement forest land must be initiated by a letter from county commissioners. That's in the law, and that means you. Time is of the essence. Sherwood timber sale is scheduled for auction May 23. After that, it will cost the state money to cancel any contracts. So the sooner you can send a letter to the Board of Natural Resources, the better. For your convenience, I'm going to give you all a packet, which you also received in your email. And this includes, this packet includes a sample resolution and a letter to BNR for you to sign or edit as you see fit, the Port of Allen resolution and their letter to you, the relevant section of the capital budget, information on economic impacts of harvesting from common school trust land like Sherwood, a map of the area, and an image of some homes right below the planned harvest site. As Mason County Commissioners, you have the unique power to orchestrate an easy solution that will bring in millions of dollars to Mason County, increase our forested land base, keep DNR trust beneficiaries whole, safeguard property values, protect our local ecology, champion the voices of local community, and ensure that Sherwood Forest thrives for generations to come. Please, I'm asking you, we are all asking you to read this packet in full and take action by May 22nd. We have the opportunity for a true solution that benefits everyone, but only if you use your power as county commissioners to simply write a letter today. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you'd like, you can hand those to.
I timed it.
You can hand those to Mark, and
All
he'll
of them?
pass it out. Yeah. All right. Do we have anyone else? Yes. Please state your name, and then we'll get you.
So my name is Joshua Wright, and I've never come to any Mason County meeting before, but I've called this place home since I was 5. And so I live in the Sherwood Creek watershed in Union, and that's where the Sherwood timber sales planned. And the Sherwood watershed has very little protected areas. It has about, I think it has a 500 acre reserve at the top of the watershed, but there's nothing else in the watershed protected. It's about a 20,000 acre watershed. So I'm here to ask you to please use the power granted to you by that capital budget proviso to ask the Department of Natural Resources to find replacement lands, ideally in the watershed as well, to increase working force in our area. But to protect the Sherwood Forest, which is about 100 years old and one of the older forests in the area, and it's certainly very close to my heart. And I want to yield my time because there's a lot of people who want to talk, but I would hope that you would consider doing that. I've lived here my entire life, and I live here because it's beautiful, and I want to keep it that way. So thank you.
Thank you, Joshua.
She's got her hand up, not because it's.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Michael Siptroth, and I live at Trails End Lake. The Trails End Lake Board wrote a letter to DNR asking them not to log Sherwood. The Sherwood Forest area that they're going to log comes right up to Trails End Lake. So we have a very invested opportunity to stop cutting in that area. We've already experienced a lot of clear cutting around Trails End Lake and between Mason Lake and beyond. So we're seeing the loss of our natural heritage. And as was talked about, going into the woods is one of the best and least expensive ways you can help restore your mental health. I have done some reading, and I'd just like to talk about a few things that I read in Ecology, a textbook for high school and college people. In the article by Michael Dombeck, he says, agencies cannot protect resources such as endangered species or timber without managing them in the context of their larger ecosystems. We have to learn to live within the limits of watersheds. This is a beautiful watershed. It helps endangered salmon. Flowing into North Bay is the largest remaining natural habitat of the oysters, which were so prized by Native people and others for their delicacy. If we cut the woods along Sherwood Creek, there's going to be sedimentation that will overpower the ability of those oysters to live. We've spent millions of dollars to restore salmon runs along Sherwood Creek, including a new railroad trestle to avoid the culverts which were blocking salmon. Why would we undo all of those efforts to cut trees that help us to breathe, that absorb carbon, which we desperately need as we're approaching a turning point where it's going to get so hot. 92 degrees this coming weekend is abnormal. We not only have the opportunity to save Sherwood Creek, but maybe we can do something about controlling the runaway climate crisis that we're experiencing. Another quote that I read is, ecosystems management is taking a broad view of landscapes and how they are defined by natural processes, trying to integrate sound ecological science and management principles that are geared to the long-term health of whole ecosystems. We're not talking about trees, we're talking about entire ecosystems. Thank you very much for your consideration.
All right, thank you.
I have a broken wing, so thank you.
I just thought you were sitting back there waving at us the whole time. I appreciated the positive energy. So.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Sherry Dysart. I live in Mason County, and I'm asking that the Mason County Commissioners consider the request from the Port of Allen Commissioners concerning the Sherwood timber sale. I have lived in Mason County for 40 years. My husband and I settled here after graduating from Washington State University, where we both earned degrees in forest management. I worked for a privately owned timber company for 30 years. My husband owned and managed his own forest management company for 15 years. We understand the importance of the industry for the jobs and goods it provides. We are not anti-logging, we are pro-responsible forest management. Responsible forestry includes being aware of the evolution of scientific research and responding appropriately to such research. There has been an astonishing distortion of science promoted by the timber industry. One of the things I learned from my forestry professors at WSU was to carefully evaluate who was funding the research we were reading. I am painfully aware that much of the research underpinning Washington state laws and influencing state agencies and elected officials has been, in fact, funded by the timber industry. A recent letter to the Journal, published May 4th, repeated one of the timber industry lies. The sentence read, "The oldest trees remain after harvest, and the new forest will provide younger, more vibrant growing trees that sequester more carbon than older declining trees," unquote. This lie has been thoroughly debunked by recent research. And I will point you to a recent article published in Nature, volume 507. It was published January 15, 2014. It's titled, "Rate of Tree Carbon Accumulation Increases Continuously with Tree Size." And I'll quote a bit of that research. Here we present a global analysis of 403 tropical and temperate tree species, showing that for most species, mass growth rate increases continuously with tree size. Thus, large, old trees do not act as simple carbon reservoirs, but actively fix large amounts of carbon captured compared to smaller trees. At the extreme, a single big tree can add the same amount of carbon to the forest within a year, as is contained in an entire mid-sized tree. In other words, the mature trees in the Sherwood timber cell, particularly those in Unit 4, are the carbon workhorses in this complex ecosystem where many of the trees are aged over 100 years old. Rather than declining in their ability to sequester carbon, they are continuing to bulk up, increasing their carbon sequestration rates. And thank you. I submitted my entire comments in writing, and I had some more information to share about school construction because there's misinformation also in regard to that part of this picture. So I appreciate your listening and making a wise decision for the best interests of the people of Mason County. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, how much time do we have left?
We're actually just approaching 15 minutes, so.
Madam Chair, I'd be comfortable if there's no objection from the commission extending the public comment period, given that people have made the effort to be here today.
All right.
No objection. No objection. I think we'll be done shortly, there's only a few, so. But please, we ask if you have a lot of information, please be brief in your comments, because we're over our amount.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Peggy Morell, and I live in Union. I went to Olympia last week to speak to the Board of Natural Resources, the only ones authorized to approve or cancel state trust timber sales. I asked them to cancel the Sherwood timber sale. I told them I understood they have a responsibility to generate revenue from timber sales for schools and counties, including Mason County, but that there is no need to clear-cut Sherwood State Forest. Their own records show thousands of acres of plantation forest on state trust lands in the South Puget Sound region currently available for harvest. I told them that clear-cutting Sherwood Forest meant losing one of our most cost-effective and reliable buffers to the flooding, landslides, and drought that are increasingly a part of living in Mason County. They voted unanimously to approve the Sherwood timber sale. I came here today to speak to my county commissioners and ask you to reach out to the Department of Natural Resources on behalf of Mason County and people like me concerned about the health, safety, welfare, and economic damage from clear cutting this valuable Mason County public resource. Once again, rural forested counties like ours carry the economic burden for the benefits of larger urban counties. The box on this page shows that Mason County gave out 3 times more in forest acreage and timber revenue to the DNR than we got back in school construction funding, which typically goes to larger urban school districts instead. I'm concerned about the loss of property values in the communities that are literally right across the street from the clear-cut area. You can see how close the proposed timber sale areas are to Trails End Lake and Lakeland Village communities. And this photo shows just how vulnerable these homes are, located at the base of the slope coming down directly from the clear-cut areas. I know the people living in these communities are older folks like me with a lot of our financial security wrapped in our homes. In your commitment to the effective and equitable management of our public resources where both people and our schools benefit, I am respectfully asking this board to write a letter to the Department of Natural Resources before May 22nd, request that they cancel the Sherwood timber sale, and instead protect Sherwood Forest by transferring it out of DNR's Common School Trust in exchange for replacement working forest. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. Do we have anyone else?
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Heath Heichel here on behalf of the American Forest Resource Council. Our members include the forest products companies that purchased timber from DNR state trust lands, including companies like Sierra Pacific here in Shelton, as well as someone like the Murphy Company in Elma. I am here to urge you to allow the Sherwood timber sale to move forward because, frankly, it was thoroughly vetted by the Board of Natural Resources and Department of Natural Resources staff at their April meeting. I've sent you some information late last week following the Port of Allen resolution, which included some pictures that were prepared by DNR of the area, which shows that it is bounded by a wastewater treatment plant, a railroad line, an electrical transmission right-of-way, numerous other managed forests, recently managed forests, so it's hard to understand why it would impact property values there. And frankly, as you know, these are state trust lands which are grounded in a fiduciary obligation that the state has. We estimate that the Sherwood timber sale would generate about $2 to $3 million for the Common School Trust Fund. That is just one piece of the economic activity associated with that. You can generally multiply that by 3 when you consider the contractors, the loggers, others, including many who live here in Mason County who will work on that project, as well as the mills who will turn that wood into forest products we all need, carbon-friendly wood products that this society needs and uses every day. So we would ask that you allow this sale to move forward. It has been thoroughly vetted, and it was mentioned, it was voted and approved by the Board of Natural Resources after a very raucous meeting, I will tell you, last April, or this April. I also want to underscore the fact that half of DNR state trust lands are already removed from management, protected, not harvested. 79% of all forests pre-1945 age are set aside from management across Western Washington. 93% of all pre-1900 age forests are set aside from management. So we have a very small amount of land base that we are actually talking about. In regards to the budget proviso that has been mentioned, there's a couple inaccuracies that have been mentioned. First, there would be a net loss of working forests because we would be setting aside these working forests and going out and purchasing currently managed private working forests. So it is going to result in a reduction in volume. There is no guarantee those replacement lands will be purchased anywhere near Mason County, so you don't know that you're going to even retain that management there. And then finally, it's a little backwards. What the proviso said is that DNR needs to select the parcels by the end of the year, and that ultimately a county needs to send a letter approving the parcels that have been selected. It's not the other way around, and I can tell you it is very unlikely that this parcel would be included in the list that DNR is going to move forward because they have already invested significant resources into preparing a timber sale, and frankly, they've done the analysis themselves, and they don't think it qualifies as structurally complex or carbon dense. So thank you for the opportunity opportunity to comment. I do have some materials I'll hand to the gentleman here to give to you, so, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, do we have anyone else? Yes.
Good morning. Mike Scobletti, Union, Washington. Mike Scobletti, Union, Washington. I'd like to thank the commissioners for extending the public comment period. As you can see, the representatives of the timber industry like to play fast and loose with the numbers and like to play fast and loose. One of the reasons why the older forests, he says, are the majority of them are set aside is because the majority of them are gone. You look at the pictures in our credit union, you look at the pictures in the post office, the old forests are gone. They've been replaced with working forests. Now, we're not opposed, nobody in here has said that we're opposed to logging. We have logging on timber company lands, we have logging on private property lands. We're talking about the few remaining acres of old forest that are in this county and protecting them. What they want to do is take your Camaro and give you a Pinto. They want to take away a wolf and give you a Chihuahua. And what we're saying is, we don't need to reduce the total number of acres of land that is working. We're just saying, don't take the oldest forest that we have. It'll take us another 100 years or more to regrow forest that is in the Sherwood section that they're going to clear cut. Oh, I'm sorry. In that raucous April meeting, they're not going to clear cut it. They're going to leave 8 trees per acre. Now, I can count to 8, and I know what an acre is. So we're just asking the commissioners to help the residents of Mason County. We should not be a sacrifice zone just because some bureaucrats in Olympia need a piggy bank to break open. They'll always need more money. The timber companies are always going to want more land to have access to, just not these old, unique forests. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, do we have anyone else in the room? All right. Thank you all so much for your comments and for your emails. We appreciate those. And so now we will move on to item number 6.
Madam Chair, I move approval or adoption of the agenda as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All right, call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Let's move on to item number 7, approval of minutes.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of the minutes for April 17th, 2023, April 24th, 2023 briefing minutes as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the April 17th, 2023 and the April 24th, 2023 briefing minutes.
I'm having the same problem today, too, so it's what it is.
It is. I have the same problem commonly. So I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, moving on to item number 8, approval of the action agenda. See, it's contagious. Commissioners will read through the items on the action agenda. After we read through them, items can be taken off for separate vote or discussion. Commissioner Netherland, if you could read items 8.1 through 8.4. Commissioner Schutte, 8.5 through 8.11. And I'll take 8.12 through 8.16.
Absolutely. Madam Chair, item number 8.1 reads, approval of warrants and treasurer's electronic remittance claims clearing fund. Warrants number 8095293 through 8095796. The amount $2,131,409.57. Direct deposit fund. Warrants number 95611 through 96011. The amount $823,922.93. Salary Clearing Fund, warrants number 7007288 through 7007322. The amount $547,018.27. Treasurer's electronic remittance, the amount $653,686.39. Item number 8.2, approval to set a public hearing for Tuesday, June 20th, 2023 at 9:15 a.m. to review and approve amendments to the County Code Title 15, Development Code regarding infrastructure to bring county code in line with state requirements. Item number 8.3, approval of the resolution increasing the cash drawer amounts for the clerk's office from $100 to $500, $250 for each drawer, for a total increase in the amount of $400. Item number 8.4, approval of a resolution to grant authorization to the county treasurer to invest excess funds which are not required for immediate expenditure by the Health Department, Fund Number 150, and Community Support Services, Fund Number 117, as provided in RCW 36.29.020 and the county investment policy.
Item 8.5, approval of the memorandum of understanding with the Arc of the Peninsulas for the Mason County Housing Consortium. Item 8.6, approval to issue a request for proposals for services that support tourism to include visitor information centers, tourism promotion, and support of tourism-related facilities. Item 8.7, approval to install the RV cover at Sandhill Park using the low bid of $10,051.25 from ProBuilt Steel Buildings. Item 8.8, approval to issue a request for proposals to solicit proposals from groups within the community to help public health fulfill its mission and goals of creating and maintaining a safe, vibrant, and healthy community. Item 8.9, approval of the Department of Commerce's CARES Act Emergency Solutions Grant COVID-19 ESG CV amendment for the amount of $185,000 for rental assistance and case management to be allocated to Crossroads Housing in the amount of $110,000 and to the Shelton Family Center for $75,000. Item 8.10, approval for the county engineer to procure and execute an on-call agreement for hydraulic services with a maximum payout not to exceed $200,000. And item 8.11, approval of the resolution for County Road Project 2050, Bear Creek Dewata Road, and to authorize the county engineer and/or chair to sign all pertinent documents.
Item 8.12, approval of the resolution setting a hearing date with the hearings examiner for Wednesday, June 14th, 2023 at 1 p.m. via Zoom to consider public comment on road vacation number 413. Item 8.13, approval of the resolution setting a hearing date with the hearing examiner for Wednesday, June 14th, 2023 at 1 p.m. via Zoom to consider public comment on road vacation number 414. Item 8.14, approval of the resolution amending resolution number 2023-23, adding section 3.6 probationary periods to the Mason County personnel policy and correcting overall grammar. Item 8.15, approval for Public Works to procure the line striper and attachments for the estimated cost of $23,247.21 from Alpine Products, Inc. Item 8.16, approval of the resolution authorizing the Public Works Deputy Director of Utilities and Waste Management to proceed with the sole source purchase of the necessary parts and equipment to rebuild 3 screens at the Belfair Water Reclamation Facility from Huber RPPS System. All right, Commissioners, having read through the items on the action agenda, are there any items you would like to have removed for a separate discussion or vote?
No, not me.
No. Anyone in the audience like anything removed for separate discussion? Anyone in the Zoom room? All right.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of the action agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the action agenda as presented. Any discussion?
Not for me.
None. I just want to comment. There'll be comments, times for us to comment at the end because I see everybody's waiting. Doesn't work that way. Go ahead.
All right. I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Perfect. All right, we're going to move on to item number 9, other business. Do we have any department heads or elected officials that would like to address the commission? Mark?
Real quickly, just want to let the commissioners know that I'm going to be traveling up to Belfair this evening to meet with the North Mason Fire Commissioners, and I've asked Commissioner Netherland to attend with me. So, and then immediately preceding this meeting, we're going to do a test meeting, like through Zoom, or no, excuse me, through Teams, which is going to be the new platform that we're going to start conducting these meetings remotely on. So, if the public online would like to go to the website and see that test page immediately preceding this meeting, please join and test it out, and let's see if it works for you.
Great. Any other department heads?
Just a quickie shout out for Richard and his crew. Follow up on National Drinking Water Week, and very proud of the work that they do maintaining our public water systems, whether it be our folks that are on the front line helping customers with bills and getting through those fun challenges sometimes, and our operators making sure that our systems are in good performance, and Richard looking ahead about what needs there are in the future. And commissioners, thank you for saying do a deeper dive on our utility rates, and we're anxious to bring those back because it's been a while, right? So we're excited to present some rate options and make sure that we're being good stewards of our water systems for our communities.
And hopefully you're preparing to bring that to the public as well.
Yes.
We have the conversations, especially
Yes.
Lakeland, they've been asking for that.
Yep.
All right. Anyone else? All right. And moving on to item number 10, public hearings. We have no public hearing set at this time. So let's move on to board calendars and reports and comments, if there are any. Commissioner Netherland, go first. Commissioner Schutte, and I will follow.
I'll do my calendar first, and then I'll dive into the discussion a little bit. Peninsula Regional Transportation Organization, I've had several meetings with them as we go over our long-term programs for our region, as well as meeting with the state and discussing our options and the things that we are working together to get accomplished. North Mason Chamber of Commerce, the representative on the Olympic Regional Clean Air Authority. I had our regular meeting, but we also had another meeting of the Olympic Regional Clean Air Authority for Finance. Cemetery Board meeting. I'll be meeting with a city council member here in the next day to talk about some of the issues going on there. Law Enforcement Firefighters Board. Met with Harris Hartel. I gotta tell you, he's one of the best things we ever produced out of here. He used to work here for the county. He came up with so many new ideas on how to handle things like our drug courts and our veteran courts. The difference between him and everything else, when I first started this job, I didn't believe in a lot of those because all the ones I saw didn't work. It's just that's his work. Our recidivism rate is so tiny compared to other places that when you get an opportunity to talk to him, and he's got some things he'd like to work with us in the future on. I actually took a few days off and spent some time with my family, my daughter's birthday and my son's graduation. So I actually went on a boat for a couple of days, and it was wonderful. So I did not have any meetings during that time that I could do. I tried because they had no internet. I was not able to accomplish that. Let's see, we have, I'll be meeting, as you just heard, at the Belfair Fire Station. Another meeting with Olympic Regional Clean Air Authority. That city council member, excuse me. Legislative wrap-up will be attending. Mason Transit Authority meeting balance calendar for North Mason School District, North Mason Chamber of Commerce. Mason County Housing Authority, North Mason Community Voice, I think has something going, and I think we can come back to Board of Health. In the meantime, we've had different executive sessions, and I expect we'll have more of this next week. And then back to our briefings, and we start all over again. I want to, with your permission, I'm going to go ahead and take a moment to address some of the things. So I live there. For those of you that don't know, I actually live there, and I would love to have my trees. There's no confusion there. But what would be inappropriate is for me as an elected official to do something different than we normally would do just because I have a want or a desire. And it's not that simple. If I had my way, those trees wouldn't be touched, but it doesn't work that way. I have to represent everybody in the county. With that being said, I received a lot of phone calls from people, but sadly, with a lot of misinformation. And I can't write a letter or even ask us to sort things that I know are not true. For one example, that is not an old growth forest. It is an older forest, but it's definitely not an old growth. Aside from everything else, I actually was a tree trimmer for the PUD. I had to take arborist training in college. And the old growth forest is more than just the age of a tree, just so you know. It's the whole ecosystem. It's what creates the old growth forest. Having those down trees and everything that have been there for 150 years or trees that are up there for 400 years, that's what makes old growth. So I can't can't get a hold of the state and say, hey, that's an old growth forest, don't touch it. It doesn't work that way. And we have old growth forests in Mason County. If you notice, we definitely have, because I was told there's only 2 in all of Mason County, and this is one of them. I'm not saying you guys said, I'm just telling you the stuff I dealt with when they're calling me. Okay, it wasn't one of only 2, and we have old growth forests in Mason County, especially up in the state park region. So I can't write them a letter saying, don't touch it because of that. I had another phone call where they were explaining that the property was going to be sold to the public for housing and stuff. That it doesn't happen either. That's not how it works. They were going to flood everybody out. It doesn't work that way. They have to, by law, reforest and take care of these things when they go. So I can't write a letter saying, don't let this happen when I already know that it can't happen. Is my point for all these things. There's so many other things that I was told. One of the things that was really interesting is that one of the first callers I got to receive a call from said that the schools and everything will get nothing from this. That's not accurate. As a matter of fact, I called the school district this morning to find out what they received in those timber trust lands, and it was $170,000 last year. That's substantial to a school district. I'm only talking North Mason School District. So I can't just say, I'm going to fight against you to have that. We worked with them on another one where they commented and let us know how important it was to them to have that money. So I can't just deny that it's important to them, especially without having those conversations with them. We haven't had those conversations. I checked this morning for the county. The county's amount that they received last year was $500,000. Now, if you think about that, we received $10 million in property tax for on our general fund side, and to receive $500,000, that would be an increase of 5% across the board to share with everybody else. And are they willing to do that, or do we cut our budget by 5%? If we were to stop the logging altogether, I'm giving the extreme. I'm just telling you, these things have an implication that most people don't understand. So I'm trying to look into that and to find different ways of dealing with it. But again, doing things on my personal agenda would be inappropriate. I would love to not have those trees gone. I live there. I look at them. I understand and appreciate them. It's just not that simple. Also, something that has come up is the idea of, Julianne brought up actually, the idea of request trade replacement land. Before coming into this meeting, I absolutely thought that that'd be a good conversation to have and to see what that looks like. I am going to ask that we do have maybe a briefing on that to see, because looking at it, it may not be possible, it may not be beneficial, and it may still cost the schools money, and I'm not prepared to do that. So I'm going to ask that we have it in our briefing. Now, I know some of you here expected things to be done today, but it doesn't work that way. In the county commission meeting is different than the port. First of all, everything we passed, we've already briefed on all these items. There should not be ever an item on here that we haven't briefed on, discussed, argued about. But even more importantly, it goes on an agenda, and then others have an opportunity to come here that have a different view of the other people and give their reasoning of why it shouldn't be there. This was not on the agenda, so your commission would never just say, okay, we're going to do a letter. We just don't do business that way. The public is required, we are required to make sure the public gets as much information as possible and the opportunity to have our ear as well. Because as you hear, there are others that do believe that it's necessary, including the school districts, of which we dealt with the last one that we went through. And because we did it that way, I think it's important that we are smart on how we do this one. Now, the problem is getting a letter out in time would be almost impossible at this point, because we have a briefing and then we have the meeting the next week after that briefing. I'm not saying that it is impossible, because it's not. We've done special meetings before. There's things that can happen. I'm just telling you, you're pushing a rock up a hill big time, just time-wise. If we'd had a briefing on it a month ago, that would have been more realistic to deal with what we do as a county commission. But I would like to hear what it looks like to have that request, because I was reading that same law, the same RCW, and I had some questions about that myself, whether that is even possible and whether we benefit. So I'd like to ask that we go ahead and maybe with the other commissioners' approval, that we have that added to our briefing for next week, so we can at least have that discussion between each other, because we can't do that here, really. We can have some talks, but just not how it works. As I want to touch on something that Ken Van Buskirk, he was asking what we're doing on the Highway 3 aspect up there by McDonald's. She already left, but if we could make a request to have that brought to a briefing in the next week or two also, so we could just get an update or even have direction given by the commission, which we already have, on what we'd like to see done. since it is at the request of the community. That's what I have for you, and I will make myself available for you directly after the meeting. If you'd like to talk at me, yell at me or ask questions. That's what I do, and it's all right.
Does that go for all of us?
Yeah, they're not allowed to. That's the beauty of the whole thing. That'd be an illegal meeting. So thank you again for coming, and please don't think we didn't care because we didn't act. That's not true. That's just not how it's done here. We don't do, you can ask me after the meetings, but we don't do public at this point in our agenda. We're structured.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Can I give you just this little?
As soon as the meeting's over, I'll meet with you.
Great. Yeah, let me run through my calendar real quick, and then I'll make a couple of brief comments so that you can all go talk to Commissioner Netherland for a little bit after the meeting. So following up today's meeting, I have a Behavioral Health Coalition agenda setting meeting with Mason Health. Also have our MACECOM Board of Directors meeting this afternoon. Later on this week, Criminal Justice Working Team, Opioid Stakeholder Group meeting, and our IT Steering Committee meeting. Also have a meeting with Laura Ives from the Regional EDA office out in Spokane. It's obviously going to be a virtual meeting. And then also be attending the legislative wrap-up. Have Transforming Our Communities event planning with University of Washington. Also have the United Way auction on Friday. Looking ahead to next week, the Broadband Action Team meeting, YMCA Advisory Board meeting in Mason Transit, Hood Canal Coordinating Council meeting. Let's see. I have a check-in with staff from the Alliance for the Healthy South Sound, Thurston Mason BH ASO Governance Board meeting, and then back on the 22nd for briefings, and then my bi-weekly check-in with BH ASO staff. First, and then I'll just kind of make a couple of quick comments on the public comment that we received today and over the past couple of days. First, just thank you for coming down. It takes a lot of effort to come to these meetings. They're not at necessarily the most convenient time for everybody, and so when people are willing and able to show up in person to make comments on issues that they're passionate about or supportive or opposed to, it helps inform our thinking. And so regardless of what happens with this particular forest stand, just know that we're grateful that you took the time and effort to share your thoughts with us. Commissioner Netherland touched on a lot of points that I do tend to agree with. This commission has actually been involved in litigation with DNR about their management of state trust lands, along with a coalition of junior taxing districts throughout the county and state. We've written letters to the Board of Natural Resources about some of their decisions that we've disagreed with. Those tend to be probably in the direction that you're not in favor of. We'd like to see those timber stands managed and harvested when appropriate, because we do know that our junior taxing districts in particular do rely on those funds in order to make budget decisions and keep folks employed and kids in classrooms and ambulances and fire trucks responding when you call 911. And so broadly speaking, PILT, so payment in lieu of taxes programs, secure rural schools programs, those are things that have been high priorities for not just Mason County, but our state association of counties, and actually our national association of counties has worked really hard at the federal level to ensure that counties that have working forests are given their fair share back through the payment in lieu of taxes program. And so that might not be directly related to this particular harvest that you're interested in, but I want to provide a little bit of context about just the work that we've done both at the state and federal level on this issue. And so we do believe that the state DNR has a fiduciary responsibility to trustees to manage those forests in a way that's sustainable and that tries to balance that. And if you're not in support of logging these areas, then you're going to probably think that it's out of balance. And I think that was clear by some of the testimony at the Board of Natural Resources last week, and a theme that I've kind of gotten in some of the correspondence that I've received on this issue. So I have no problem taking a look at the provisions in the capital budget. I do think that the timeline might not line up with when this final decision is made. Just being frank and honest with you, so that there's not so that you have the right expectations leaving here today, at least from my perspective. But I do want to caution that, you know, the fact of the matter is, when we're talking about swapping land, that to me really sounds like the worst kind of NIMBYism that we can have when it comes to these types of decisions, because what we might be doing in that situation is then moving this over to somebody else's backyard who might not like it either. And so that's why we've entered into these agreements with the state DNR over years and years to manage these forest lands, because we've put that responsibility and trust in the DNR to manage those lands through their processes. And so, you know, short of identifying another piece of land that might be eligible for this program, I think there's a lot that we don't know. We're just learning. This is a relatively new provision for the state, so we have a little bit of learning to do. So we don't know how that would necessarily work, how that land swap would work, if we're just creating this same problem in another part of the county, if we lose the ability to log and then you know, get some of those financial benefits back into the county. I think there's just still some things that we need to learn. And we're going to do that independent of both the Forest Practices Association and folks who are opposed to this. We're going to do our own research, as it were, and talk to our legal staff and some of our folks that help us on the legislative side of things in order to get some of that information. So I don't know what can be turned around in the next week, you know, but certainly interested in learning more about the opportunity in the capital budget. But I'm not particularly interested in solving this problem by creating a new set of problems in another part of the county. And so I think we'll figure it out. We'll learn a little bit more, and I hope that this keeps the dialogue going between us and all of you. We don't take comment, no. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry about that. So I'll go ahead and go through my calendar, and then I've got a couple comments as well. So immediately following this will be our Teams meeting test. So make sure that you stick around for that. This afternoon I have 2 Turning Point meetings, fundraising committee and Power the Purse meetings. Tomorrow is our local emergency planning meeting, site visit with Loretta tomorrow, so the afternoon with her. Business after hours at Verl's. And then there's also, it's funny how now, because of Zoom, you can overlap meetings. It's not really that funny, but it happens. WASAC, the Association of Counties, is having a board meeting, so I will be Zooming in for that. Thursday's EDC meeting, Public Works Board Executive Committee meeting, Pac Mountain Finance meeting. Turning Point is having our version of Chopped. So we've got 2 board members, well, 1 board member and our ED, and they are going to compete. They get a box of food, and they don't know what's in the box, and so they have to make a meal, and it has to taste good. Friday is the legislative wrap-up out at Public Works, do the United Way dessert and gift auction, CareNet dessert auction Friday night. Saturday is a women's tea and fashion show at Colonial House, a Pampered Chef party. I don't think these guys will be there.
Didn't see that on my calendar now.
There is now.
Briefing on Monday, WASAC Virtual Assembly, and let's say meeting with the EDC, Public Works Board, again, Executive Committee meeting. Chamber Luncheon is on Thursday. Traditional committee meeting, and then we are back here for briefings, virtual assembly. I do have a United Way. It's their emergency food program meeting. I think it's a Mason County GOP meeting. Not sure on that one. And then we're back on Tuesday for our commission meeting. And then soon follows Memorial Day, where everybody will be out enjoying the weather. I too want to thank everyone that came in and everyone that sent their emails in. I think, appreciate the involvement. I really do. I wish we had a lot more people that would come to our meetings and spend time with us. We're here to represent all the people of Mason County. Like both commissioners said, that's our duty. you might be elected by a certain group, but our duty is to represent everybody. And so I appreciate you guys all coming in, appreciate your emails. And I encourage you to come to more of our meetings. See, they're pretty fun, and bring a good dad joke to start it off.
I mean, there's usually less proclamation.
There's a lot less. Yeah, so thank you again. I do want to thank you guys for coming in. I'm on the Timber Counties Committee through the Association of Counties. And so we watch DNR very closely. There are times when I agree with them, times that I don't. But that's the great thing about having diverse conversations. And so I really do want to thank you all for coming in. I'll keep it short and sweet so we can get on to our test meeting. Hopefully it works. Keep your fingers crossed. And stick around if you want to talk to us. Okay?
Sure. First of all, Pampered Chef rocks. You can get those things for peeling an orange. The greatest invention I've ever seen in my life. I just love that thing. You can only get it at Pampered Chef. Mark and the commission, I'd like to make a request that if there's any possibility to move that test to maybe 10:45 or the like. The reason why is I have a feeling that I'm going to be being asked some questions, and so may the other commissioners, and if we don't move it, I'll have to miss it, because I'll stick with what they need.
I can try, yeah.
I appreciate it. Madam Chair, I move we adjourn.
Second.
All right.
Can you do that any quicker?
We are adjourned. And again, thank you all for coming in.